evening and welcome to another edition of Talkin' Wrestling. My name's Ralph Williams. If you're a first-time watcher, tonight we're in Studio B here at Studios 808 in the Allentown section of Pittsburgh. And also tonight we have our co-host with me, Smokin Jim Frazier. Smokin Jim, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, Ralph. It's a real honor, brother.
Thank you. And we're getting ready tonight to talk. We have a lot to talk about, as we always do. We're going to go over Raw. We're also going to go over the SmackDown from last Friday, and some news here that's quite disturbing, and a few things that are really disturbing here. First of all, let's get into our wrestling news, Smokin Jim. All right, AEW's Dustin Rhodes. Remember Dustin Rhodes? That's Dusty's older son. Well, he announced a few weeks back that he announced recently that he is retiring permanently from wrestling. He's going to be a coach. He's going to work in the AEW or may go back to the WWE and work as a coach there as well. But that's Dustin Rhodes. And now some sad news. Remember last night I told you a former member of the Four Horsemen had a heart attack recently. All right. Well, that person happens to be Barry Windham. So Barry Windham, he had a heart attack a few nights back or a week ago, and he's in intense ICU as of right now. When I get more details, everybody, I'll have it out to you as well. Also, Asuka, there's some concern out there. She posted on Facebook today, or on Twitter. On Twitter, that she is going to listen to her favorite Metallica song and go to sleep. Concerns are out there in the wrestling world that perhaps she was disappointed in her loss last Monday night, and she might be trying to attempt something on her life. Some professionals have reached out to her, and some people, but they have yet to get an answer as to what she is doing. Okay, there's some concern out there. I guess the Metallica song, Smokin Jim, that she's listening to has to do with suicide. So that's where the assumption's coming in. They're thinking that could be. William Regal. That is sad. That's really sad, Smokin Jim. I mean, she might be frustrated. She's been in the WWE for a while, hasn't been a champion for a while, and, has been sort of a jobber, as they call them, and I think that could be the situation. What are your thoughts on the three things I just talked about here?
Well, I tell you what, man, that's some serious thing, man. The heart attack and one of the legends is in the ICU, and then you're talking about somebody that's in the up and coming in the prime of her career, considering maybe suicide, and then anybody with the last name Rhodes, when they retire, it's a big deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely, it is. All right, let's get into William Regal, the angle that we saw last week with MJF hitting William Regal in the back of the head. And, Thursday night I made a big thing about that. And I knew that was kind of an angle because he was on his way out to begin with. His contract had ran out. They couldn't really he didn't want it renewed. He felt like he was trying to give ideas to Tony Khan, try to help him out a little bit, with some ideas of how to run the business. Tony Khan didn't want to hear it, which, of course, that's why Cody Rhodes left, because he was a vice president, didn't want to hear anything from him or the current ones that are there now, Omega and the Young Bucks. And I think next year, when everybody's contracts run out, Omega, the Young Bucks, and in January of 24, when MJF's, I think all four of them are hitting the road. What do you think?
I'm not real sure, Ralph. I'm going to, follow your lead on that because you've been pretty much 100% on the money with your prediction. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they all left.
Some other wrestling news. Bobby Roode, who as you know, teams up with Dolph Ziggler. They were the Dirty Dogs. He's been around a long time. He's been in Impact, and he's been around the world. Excuse me. Bobby Roode is having surgery and is not sure as to whether or not his wrestling career is over. He had fusion in his neck, and there's no guarantee he's going to come back from that. That's a difficult thing to come back from. We all know how that can be with Kurt Angle and some of the other wrestlers as well. Rumor has it, and I just heard it, speaking of surgeries, Andrade, Charlotte Flair's husband, he had surgery to repair a torn pectoral muscle, and he's going to be out for a little while. He tore it in the last match he had at AEW. What's your thoughts on these two things here, Smokin' Jim?
Yeah, I tell you what, man, it's almost, it's such a long time to come back from a pectoral injury, because it's not so much that you're being afraid of re-aggravating it or injuring it again, but you lose so much doggone strength. You almost got to start all over, developing your upper body strength again, and that's what takes a long time. And when you're a professional, you just don't get that much time.
Right.
You just gotta, when the doctor gives you the clearance, you just gotta go out there, even if you're half strength.
AEW is removing ROH from their programming. What they're going to do is they're going to try to run ROH as a separate entity as it was before. Their one announcer, Ian Ribicotti, is leaving. He says he wants nothing to do with anything with Tony Khan anymore. He's going to continue to hang around on AEW when ROH has their wrestlers, like when Jericho fights Samoa Joe, some of the other guys that have some of the titles of ROH. But they're going to try to run that as a separate entity. I hope that happens, because it would be nice to see ROH come back. The question is, Tony Khan's trying to find a network for him at this point, and lately he's been sort of scrambling with networks, because remember, as I've mentioned before on other shows, that AEW might have to look for another network if Time Warner decides to cut them out, because they're making cutbacks with TBS and TNT and all that other stuff. And they're not wrestling fans either, just like AOL wasn't when they bought it off of Ted Turner. But they decided to go with it. Money's the thing. And so they decided to go with it. But now they're looking at cutting it. And they're cutting services, and their employees have been laid off and some other things. So we're going to find out how that works out for itself as well. Smokin' Jim, it's now time for us to get into our Raw, what happened Monday night. And Alexa Bliss and Bayley won both of their triple threat matches. I actually thought the man was going to win the one that Alexa Bliss was in, but then it turned out that Damage Control came out and stopped her from getting back into the ring. And Alexa Bliss was able to pin, to get the win in that match. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I tell you what, man. I really enjoyed that match. I really thought the man was going to win. Everything was set up. I thought the strategy was clearly in the man, in Becky Lynch's corner, and I was shocked. I was shocked at the end. I thought it was going to be a disqualification.
Right.
When the other two girls came out of nowhere to jump Becky Lynch, I thought it was going to be a disqualification, but it ended up being a victory for.
Well, you do know in triple threat matches.
I really thought that Becky Lynch was going to win it.
Well, you do know in triple threat matches, Smokin' Jim, there is no disqualification, no count out. So anything, anything can really happen. Anything can go on, So it's a. The other match of notability was the one that Bayley was involved in. She was involved also in a triple threat match. They're going to fight next week, Bayley and Alexa Bliss, for the right to go face Bianca Belair in a title match. or there's going to be another triple threat match involving all three of them. That hasn't been, and that's not in stone yet. But what is your thoughts on Bailey's win in her match?
Well, I'll tell you what, Bailey she was fired. You can see the look in her eyes. She was all business. I think I agree with you that, Bailey's really, she's an individualist. I look for her. I like what the man said. I see there's a lot of champions and you're not one. Something like that kind of pissed Bailey off. But hey, Bailey's a champion whether she's the belt holder or not. So she's always going to be in the hunt.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. The Miz was not allowed in the JBL Poker Classic that they had Monday night. And I know why he was trying to get in. He was trying to get in because Dexter Lumis was there, and he was involved in it. But the difference was Dexter Lumis had Miz's money, and he was using it to play in a card game. So, yeah, I know. Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was hilarious. The way he had the poker face going, and then Miz says, "Here, I'll give you my watch or whatever." And then JBL looked at us. That's a fake Rolex. Oh, it was hilarious. It was so funny. And then a couple squabbles broke out. You had AJ Styles fighting with Baron Corbin, and then Corbin and the what you call it, the athletic team there, Gable and Otis decided to team. They were three of them teamed up against the OC. You knew who was going to win that one, the OC, and so they won that 6-man match. What's your thoughts on that and that match there?
Well, man, the real star is JBL. I mean, he just cracks me up. He plays that role so well, man. And, the invitational only.
That's it.
Then you got Dexter showing up. He's like, you don't have the money. He wasn't invited. He dumps all that cash, man. And then bites the ball out of that poker face. But, you knew that it's established experience, team was going to win that match. I mean, they were just too much team experience for Corbin and them to overtake the OC. So yeah, that wasn't a surprise.
Absolutely. The Usos took on Matt Riddle and Kevin Owens, and the Usos won. But not only did they win, they ended up Soa Sikoa ended up taking out Matt Riddle, and they had to carry him out on a stretcher. I thought that the Usos winning wasn't going to be a bad thing, but but for them to do that, take out Matt Riddle, which I thought that was kind of wrong, So now he got carried out on a stretcher, and who knows how long he's going to be out. What was your thoughts on this match?
Well, Matt Riddle kind of instigated it right at the beginning because he wrote his cycle right through their interview, and that made them take out Elias. And but I tell you what, man, there's something brewing with Solo, man, in his head. He used to seemed like he was all in now. He got the little brother complex. It seems like he's being forgotten a little bit for Sami Zayn because he's just what he did to Matt Riddle was over and above. I mean, I don't know how bad that kid is hurt. Anytime you put a chair around somebody's neck and you throw 320 pounds at it. But a few times where all the guys got together and Solo didn't really get in the circle. Maybe that's part of his personality, but he could be getting a little upset that he's being left out of the pat on the back, and Sami Zayn is being included in a lot of that stuff. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. Because, hey, Ralph,
yes,
we are all the twos, and they are the ones.
yeah, that's right. That's right. They are the ones. The question, the biggest question of the day around all of the wrestling world is how long are they going to be the ones? That's the question. Will the whole bloodline get taken out in WrestleMania? I mean, will Roman Reigns lose his title? Will the Usos lose their titles? There's a lot of questions and answers that need to be answered here. What's going to happen with Sami Zayn? I think, if you ask my opinion, Solo Sikoa is going to take out Sami Zayn one way or another here, because I think that's where, like you said, he seems like he's not wanted in the bloodline. It's like he's like an afterthought, and I don't think he likes it. Although at one point he was buddy with Sami Zayn. Now all of a sudden it's like he just looks at him with that stare, like, you know what, you're taking up my space here, And what do you think of that?
Yeah, I couldn't. So we're definitely on the same page here.
Right, exactly, yeah.
I've been noticing it more and more, and especially now that the one brother is, has accepted Sammy. It felt like Sammy earned the right to be Usi. It just seemed like Solo. And the one time I think they were wanting him to get in on, the huddle up, and then somebody else came. They played the music, and I forget who came out. I don't know if it was Kevin Owens or somebody else that kind of interrupted. So it definitely, I've seen what you've seen there. That,
right.
He's really unhappy.
Well, Kevin Owens has been getting under the skin of Sami Zayn in the bloodline. He's been trying to cause friction. He's trying to get Sami Zayn out of there, and it hasn't worked. And he said, "I gave up. I'm done with it. I don't want to deal with you anymore." And I don't blame Kevin Owens, because sometimes you can't beat a dead horse. And so that that's what's been going on there. So why beat it? You know what I mean? So, but anyway, the Theory took on Mustafa Ali. But get this, Mustafa Ali won the match by DQ because of Dolph Ziggler interfering again here. Apparently, I guess he's going to go up against Austin Theory sooner or later here. And who knows, he might take the U.S. title. Ziggler's been there. He's been a champion before, and he's trying to make a comeback. He's in his 40s now. And Robert Roode's not there. As I mentioned earlier, he had surgery. And so he doesn't have anybody or anything going on. And I believe that now that Triple H is around, you could see Dolph Ziggler a little bit more. What do you think about that?
I think that the belt can change hands several times, but I think that A-Town down, Austin Theory will always get it back. For some reason, man, he's the up and coming guy. He's not as big as Sting. Remember Sting back in the NWA?
Yeah. Yes.
He doesn't have the size that Sting has, but it just seems like they're pushing him for championships. Being a young guy with a great body and a role. And so even if he loses the title, I think he'll always will get it back. So he may challenge Ric Flair 16 times.
Okay, here's a match here. This match was pretty hilarious, actually. It was pretty funny. The Tozawa versus Dominic Mysterio. You kind of knew Tozawa was going to lose, but at least Tozawa, one thing I'll give him, he's a fighter. He was the middleweight champion down in 235 Live, and or that junior, whatever that title was they had there. He was also NXT. He's been in NXT. He's had a belt or two. So he's had some success, Tozawa. He was 24/7 champion. And he was involved in that clan when they had that going on. You kind of suspected he was going to lose, and he did. But Dominic, man, I tell you what, man, he's been he got taken to the cleaners here a little bit by Tozawa, and I didn't think he was going to beat him, but I had a feeling he was going to because they got to keep that thing going with him in the Judgment Day. And they spoke a little bit about the Rey Mysterio thing at Thanksgiving and all that other stuff. What do you think is going to? You think Dom eventually is going to go back with his father, or do you think he's going to stay with Judgment Day?
Wow. What a great question. Man, I would say, first of all, is it just me, or is Mama starting to look better and better?
She didn't look good. She didn't look good in that triple threat match. Actually, I was rooting for her to lose, and she did. They're terrible. I mean, we talk about this on our Wrestle Talk show and Blog Talk Radio with Mark Mancini, and Mark always says they have poor mic skills, and they do. I mean, they try to talk again after the match with Dominic, and I'm like, come on, don't even get on a microphone. You're terrible. I mean, it's just like really bad. And, so they started their stuff again, but Tozawa ended up on the short end of the stick on that. All right, let's talk about last Friday's SmackDown. Sami Zayn, he beat Sheamus. You know how that happened, of course. Then we all know, what the Bloodline does. And then, like Michael Cole says, all the talent he has, and everybody they have to cheat. I mean, and then what's his face? Corey Graves had something funny to say that was hilarious. I think he said something about that's a crime. He should be arrested. I think it was about the situation with Bray Wyatt and LA Knight and all. Yeah, he was like real upset about that. And there was some. It was crazy. Ricochet beat Exobar, Carlos Exobar, to win the World Cup. Well, what do you think about this World Cup? SmackDown World Cup, Smokin Jim, and he gets an opportunity to go up against Gunther for the Intercontinental title. You think Ricochet has a chance here, or should he just hold on to his World Cup and go home?
Well, I tell you what, man, I like that World Cup better than the real World Cup. I was surprised to see Ricochet getting in Braun Strowman's face.
Oh, yeah.
1 week. Yeah. And what did Braun call them? The flippies? Whatever he called them, flippies or something. And you got to be careful, Braun, in your career. Man.
No, I know. You know what? I think if Ricochet wins that title, which I don't think he will, but do you notice Gunther's afraid of Braun? I mean, he keeps running away from him, and he beats up Imperium, and he beats them all up. Oh, he keeps running away. I'm like, you know what? If you're supposed to be that man, why aren't you, stepping up to Braun? I mean, he runs. I'm telling you right now, Imperium cost Braun that opportunity because Gunther doesn't want to see Braun Strowman. He doesn't want anything to do with him. I mean, you can tell in the look in his face. He's like, I don't want to deal with this guy. You know what I mean? I mean, and you can just see it. But see, that's what. So now he thinks and that's why I'm hoping Ricochet wins this match because then Gunther will have egg on his face because Gunther thinks that by fighting Ricochet, that's going to be an easier match than fighting Braun Strowman. Well, you know what? I've seen Ricochet pull off some upsets. It's not the size that you are, and you always take a big guy down. I saw Rey Mysterio do it for years. So, I mean, it's not like I've seen Mustafa Ali take some guys down. So what I'm saying is you could be the biggest guy in the world, but if, that smaller guy outsmarts you and has better wrestling skills, Smokin Jim, you know it as well as I do, they're going to end up losing. So what do you think about this?
Well, I tell you what, man, I learned this way back when, is it not Barrasso, but Barnaby played for the Penguins. Remember Barnaby?
Yeah, Matthew Barnaby. I had him in my cap. I had him in my cap.
Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy was the littlest dude, and he would fight all the time and just wait for you to get tired because he had the stamina. And you got tired, man. If they didn't break it up before you got tired, he beat the living heck out of you once you got tired.
You know what he told me? You know what he told me once, Smokin Jim? He told me when I had him in the cab, because I used to be the Penguins' personal cab driver. I took Herb Brooks to the airport. So, I mean,
Wow.
But anyway, yeah, that was a great trip, man. I picked his brain like you wouldn't believe. But anyway, when I had Matthew Barnaby in the cab, he has no teeth, literally. He only has like one or two teeth. And he told me, he says, you know what, Ralph, he says, I'm never getting my dental work done because I keep getting my teeth sometimes knocked out. And then he has these black eyes. He looks like a beaver. And I was like a raccoon. Raccoon. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And that's from that's from all the fighting and everything. And I'm like, oh my. Next up, last Friday, Bray Wyatt claims he did not attack LA Knight. This feud, I think it's a ridiculous feud. I think Bray Wyatt needs to maybe go up against Braun Strowman or somebody of substance, not LA Knight. I mean, LA Knight, I'm not saying there's no substance. He's a good wrestler. Okay, it's just a concept that getting Bray Wyatt started in this. We haven't even seen him wrestle. All he's done is talk. And then Uncle Howdy keeps coming on all the time. And Cousin Leo and all these whoever else you got in this stable anymore these days, has been coming around. What do you think the plan is for Bray Wyatt? Do you think he's ever going to get his family started? Do you think he's just gonna wrestle solely? What do you think he's going to do?
Well, I'll tell you what, LA Knight reminds me a little bit of, do you remember a boxer named Vinny Pazienza?
Yes.
Well, Vinny Pazienza used to be a type boxer that he would just go off on somebody to get under his skin. He wanted you to say something that he could hang and get himself up for the fight, that he wanted to hate you going into the ring.
Right.
And he hated guys that were gentlemen and nice guys. He wanted somebody to say something, and so that would enrage him to want to kill him in the ring. And that's how LA Knight seems like he's been with this new beast. He smacked him in the face twice. The guy was trying to apologize, and LA Knight, it's almost like he's looking for a reason to just hate this guy and be so passionate about it that it'll help him win the fight. I watched LA Knight wrestle a lot in NXT. He's a heck of a wrestler.
Right.
I don't know what he was doing with the male model shit.
that was come on, that was awful. I couldn't stand that, man. Oh, that was, yeah. You know what? I remember when he was Eli Drake in Impact, and he used to do a talk show, and he would say, he would go like this to the wrestler, kind of like Fred Sanford when he used to do Lamont, right? He would go, you know something here, you dummy? He says, don't even think about trying to wrestle me. He says, I'm the best in the business. And he used to call everybody a dummy. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow.
That's funny.
Oh yeah, and then Gunther, which involved Braun getting involved in the match, defeated Kofi Kingston. Kingston came out by himself. I guess Xavier Woods is hurt again or something. I don't know, but he came out by himself and he fought Gunther. He tried. He did a couple of his signature moves. Still couldn't get Gunther down. But anyway, he got frustrated, lost his composure, Kingston, and Gunther beat him. But Braun came out and took out Imperium because they kept kind of getting involved in the match a little bit. And that's when the Braun-Gunther stare down and everything started happening. And but that happened. Liv Morgan came out because Bayley was there, bragging about how great Damage Control is and how they're going to conquer the whole WWE in the women's division. Well, Liv Morgan had to come out and set it straight with her. And so she was there. And they had a little bit of a scuttlebutt. But, SmackDown really didn't have a lot of matches. There was a lot of talking and stuff like that. This Friday, should be a pretty good matches coming up this Friday. What's your thoughts on these on SmackDown?
Well, I tell you what, man, it's just, boy, they could really pump it up for the next couple of weeks to 4 or 5 hours. For Friday night, man. it's just so much going on, man. So many different storylines, and then you're bringing people in, changing people from Raw. You're bringing them through, and it's just so exciting right now with Raw and SmackDown.
Well, I'm going to have to watch this on demand. December 17th, 2 p.m. on Fox is the Tribute to the Troops broadcast. I'm going to have to watch it on demand because I have a prior engagement that day, and I will not be able to watch it at that time. So I'm probably going to have to watch it on demand later on when I get home because I will not be available at 2 o'clock to watch it. So it's live on Fox, 2 p.m., Tribute to the Troops. I'm not exactly sure where they're going to be at. They might be at that base in Texas that they were at before. I don't know. I know they had, being that we're no longer in Iraq and Afghanistan, I can guarantee you they're not there. So I would imagine they're going to do it in Texas again because of the travel situation, trying to go overseas. And they're also talking about doing something in Australia this year or next year or this year coming up. They've met with the Australian officials. They're talking about doing some pay-per-views in Australia. So they're getting out there in the foreign world. It seems like Saudi Arabia, in London or whatever. When they had that clash at the castle, and then they had they're always in Saudi Arabia at least twice. And now they're moving into Australia, and that's good. I'm glad to hear that. I hope that Australia is a nice country. Smokin' Jim. I hear the weather's nice. I hear they speak a lot of English like we do, and I hear it's pretty good there, mate. So I've never been there personally. In fact, the only foreign country I've ever been to was to Canada. But of course, they say Canada's not even like a foreign country because everybody practically speaks English here as well. All right, AEW Dynamite's getting started. Dustin Rhodes coming out for one of his last matches of the year, of his career. Tonight, Darby Allin's going to take on Samoa Joe for the TNT Championship. I know Darby Allin is trying to get that belt back, Smokin' Jim, but Samoa Joe is one of the most dangerous wrestlers in the world. And now that he has 2 belts, he's even more dangerous. So I think that, Samoa Joe's going to win this match as much as I like Darby Allin and I like Samoa Joe. So to me, it's a toss-up. But I think Samoa Joe might pull it out. You have Jade Cargill and her baddies taking on Mickie James and a couple other ladies in a 6-woman tag team match. Mickie James, back in AEW, she was in Impact. She was in a match involving the ending of her career at Impact. She had to leave. Her husband is Nick Aldis. She's trying to get Nick Aldis to either come into the AEW or to the WWE. Still a free agent out there. He left NWA under bad terms with Billy Corgan. And let's see. The trios match tonight. The best of 7, the Elite versus the Death Triangle. Death Triangle's up 2-1. This will be the 4th match tonight. We're hoping that maybe the Elite can tie it up. What's your thoughts on these? On a few of these matches for tonight's Dynamite?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I hope the Elite wins it. I'm like you, man. I hope so, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be tough.
Wow, they're having a battle royal right now. It's a bunch of guys in there, mostly ROH guys, some AEW guys. They're all involved in this battle royal. Actually, believe it or not, Orange Cassidy's in this. I was quite surprised. And you got Ricky Starks, and you got a few of these other guys in there. Nice tag team match tonight, Smokin' Jim. You got FTR versus the Acclaim for the belts. That's going to be an interesting scenario there. I think that's going to be a really good match.
Who do you think will win that one?
I think FTR is going to win. FTR is more experienced. They have 2 belts. They have the ROH Championship belt, and they have one other belt, the International Wrestling something belts. And they're very experienced. They've been disgruntled lately because they haven't been on AEW TV. They're now finally Tony Khan's giving them an opportunity against the Acclaim. The Acclaim, they're good wrestlers. They got Billy Gunn with them, but I just don't see them winning against FTR. FTR is too much experience, too much better wrestling skills. I think they're going to win tonight. This has been Talking Wrestling with Smokin, Jim Frazier, and myself. We're every Wednesday night, 7:30, live here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. Also, don't forget tomorrow night, Wrestle Talk with me, Smokin, Jim Frazier, Mark Mancini. We're on tomorrow night at 7:30, not 8 o'clock, 7:30. We're on for a whole hour tomorrow night, starting at 7:30. Smokin Jim, that's going to be great tomorrow night. We're on for a whole hour, talking wrestling, talking a little bit of sports. What do you think about that tomorrow night? It's going to be great across the country and around the world. It's getting bigger and bigger.
I tell you what.
So go ahead.
I tell you what, we're growing by leaps and bounds. 2023 is our year.
Oh, I think it is too. I believe it. I've listened to some of these other wrestling podcasts, and I'm not offending anybody, but some of them are just you got guys like they come on every hour or every half hour, bringing you an update or something. They don't have like an exclusive talk show. A lot of the talk shows in wrestling right now are all former wrestlers, and I think we're the only talk show where we actually do a talk show, and we actually tell it like it is and do what we think and say what we think a little bit more than what some of these other guys are doing. I believe that to be the case. And you're right, 2023 is going to be a great year for us. For Smokin Jim Frazier, we will see you or hear you tomorrow. We will be looking forward to you listening tomorrow night on Wrestle Talk on Blog Talk Radio, 347-205-9631. Don't forget next Wednesday, 7:30, right here for Talking Wrestling. For Smokin Jim Frazier, everybody have a wonderful evening.